Hi, everyone. This is a new session in the Entity Intelligence Project where I'm joined today by my dear brother, Milan Toncic. How are you doing, brother?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. You?
Milan, how many languages do you speak?
Just to like Serbian and English, nothing else.
Serbian. Let's see here. Kako si?
Yeah, exactly. Wow, nice.
Šta radiš? Šta kažeš?
Wow.
Dobro. Dobro, brota.
Where did you find those?
Oh, I can scare you. I know a lot of stuff.
Nice. I'm impressed.
So, all right. So let's get started. Really happy you're joining me today. I kind of dedicated this session to SQL Processing Service. Like literally, the title of this session is to basically say we want to really focus on your proposal in terms of validating inputs for SQL. You remember we talked about preventing injections, making sure that whatever AI is producing is something that we can validate before we send it off, let it loose. And just for the people who are not, just newly starting to follow this series, the what Milan is doing here basically, that you have a imagine that you have an AI, right? And the AI basically translates. So this is AI sitting right here. An AI is basically translating a natural query into a SQL query, right? So you're sending in natural query and you're getting back SQL query. That's one side of this entity intelligence, like input natural query. When I say natural query, like, you know, uh, give me all students that are named Milan, for instance, like that. Okay. So what he's doing is basically going and saying, okay, how do we protect our users from getting an AI query, a SQL query that would destroy their database, right? So he puts in his own service in here, which is called SQL kind of a delegation, right? An orchestration service, and then a broker. And what this service does is that it goes and says at the door of it, every service does three things: validation, processing, and integration. But some services don't do validations. Some services don't do processing. It's three optionals, but these three mainly describe everything. So look what he's doing here. Imagine if this is the SQL, this is the query, it goes into AI. AI sends it back as SQL. This orchestration service sends it back to SQL. Where he's at is to make sure that your database doesn't get destroyed because of AI. So how does he do that? How is he actually doing that? That's what this topic today is all about. Hi, Gregory. Nice to meet you. All right, go ahead, sir. Explain to us what's the deal.
Okay, I might share a screen and then we can take a look.
Mhm.
Okay. Um,
Uh-huh.
entire screen. This one. Okay. I mean, I also draw something
Oh
so
wow. Okay. Why did I
so
even
that we
draw?
exactly know.
This is awesome. Thank you for doing this. Fantastic. By the way, Milan, just so you understand, um, nothing I've ever tried to use to explain to people ideas ever could topple drawings, architecture. You and I come from all different kind of backgrounds, but you and I agree on this. We see this and it makes sense to me and it makes sense to you.
Yeah.
So let's go. Do it.
Yeah, it's much easier to reason around the images,
Yeah.
the pictures. So
Yeah.
what I wanted to show here is basically we have two flows.
Hmm.
We have a client that wants to execute this natural query that Hassan mentioned.
Hmm.
So for instance, they want to get all the students with some name,
Hmm.
and that's the client. That's the someone that's using the library, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And we have how this processing goes.
Hmm.
We have first branch, so we need to have the metadata, how our table, so we are at the end calling SQL server. So what is the metadata of our tables. So which tables we have, which columns those tables have.
Mm-hmm.
So the structure, we need to know the structure that we need to query. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's first step. We get the structure of our uh, tables.
Mm-hmm.
That's first step. We go there and get that back. And then we have natural query, like get all students with name Hassan,
Mm-hmm.
and we combine these two and call this stream up there. So that's the second thing that we do, and that's
Yep.
the flow that Hassan and the rest of the crew are doing.
Kailu and Omar and these folks. Yeah, yeah. We're
Yeah.
basically like two teams, except that Milan is like a one-man army, just on his own, taking an entire wing by himself, which is not easy. I promise you, the AI part is easy. He's doing the hard part. You'll see, just as he explains. Please go ahead. Go ahead.
uh, yes. So in the second flow, we call an AI
Mm-hmm.
with the natural query and the structure of our tables. So that AI knows what he needs to query.
Mm-hmm.
Based on these two, AI will get us SQL query,
Mm-hmm.
something that we actually can use and query our database, right? And that's the third part, and that's the third step that we are focusing now on. So if you go back down there, what let's so we are focusing now just on the second flow.
Mm-hmm.
If you go here, second flow deals only with the SQL server at the
Mm-hmm.
end. That's the dependency, and then we are retrieving the structure of our database of our tables. That's one step that's done. So this part is done,
Yep.
and then the next part is to run the query that we get from the AI.
Yep.
Uh, and we are now dealing with this part here, foundation
Yep.
service, and then running of the query.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, so we can go through the code, or
Yeah.
what do
Let's
you
see what you
prefer?
got. Yeah. Let's do it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you go to the, so this is from if we look at the solution, we have one flow that's the upper flow, and then the down flow is data flow, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And then we have interface in downstream flow. First one which you mentioned was retrieve tables metadata. That's the structure of the tables and the that we have in our
Mm-hmm.
database.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the one that we are gonna focus today. So run query.
That's the one. And people might see this and be like, this is just an input that's a string. What's the problem, Milan? Why don't you just say null, empty, or white space and just move on? Why do you have to complicate things? What do you
Yeah.
have to say to that?
Yeah, about it. So if you go to the implementation,
uh,
yeah, this is how, I mean, we can start with the test or implementation. However, what we need to do here, as Hassan mentioned, we have validation, we have processing and integration.
hmm
Uh, this is basically the validation part that we are dealing with now, uh, and integration is done with the broker here. So if you go here, what we validate first, we validate if it's null or empty. So if you receive SQL query, some
hmm
AI sent us some empty or invalid null
hmm
SQL query, and we want to execute that. So that's not possible. We
Yep.
want to prevent that. So here we just check if it's null or empty, then we return some exception, right?
Right.
So that's the easy part, and then we come to the other part, which is validating the query. So
Yep. Yep.
we need to see that this query that we are getting from an AI is not malicious, so that it can only select some things and not do any altering or any modifications.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Which I mean, I never dealt with the regex before, so I'm also learning on the way.
It's wild. It's wild.
Yeah.
But hey, you can always ask AI. Just remember, we're actually developing AI native applications. But keep going. I'm listening.
I actually did. I consult an AI a couple of times, but
Yeah,
yeah, it again needs some time to go
to
through that and
digest.
refine it because yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so n- what I'm not sure here is how granular we want to go. So we can just do one validation here and say validate the whole query and say that query is not invalid, and we go back. We return that to the user, right?
I personally think if you can prevent it from writing, That's alter, update, which is the stuff that you have here. Execute, attach, detach,
Mhm.
truncate, insert, update, create. If you can just block that. Now, what the interesting part about this, how did you test it? That's the so you see,
Mhm.
writing the code that prevents validation, fine, it's great, it's amazing. I think the real genius here comes into how did you test drive that
Mhm.
piece? So,
Okay.
what do you think? Mm,
Okay. If you go to validations, this is run query.
uh-huh,
As you have seen there, we have this is null or empty, so that's topmost validation part.
uh-huh,
We take the invalid query, which can be empty string or white space or null. So that's
uh-huh,
the only case that we are covering here.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
So what we do here, we create an exception
That's the
that we
structural
expect to,
validation. You
yeah,
circuit break on this one. Go ahead.
exactly. So what we first build something that we expect, right?
Mm-hmm,
We expect to get this data validation exception.
mm-hmm,
Uh, then we run the query with the invalid query that we are sending here, and then we compare what we got from the service call with what we assume that we expect to get, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So that's the first part. That's the easy part. So if it's null or empty, it's gonna go here into query, right?
mm-hmm,
It's gonna go into validation part.
mm-hmm,
Uh, it's gonna validate and throw this exception. And if you go back here, we have this try catch that's gonna catch the exception. And
mm-hmm.
then if it's null or empty query exception, it's gonna just uh, put it into data validation exception,
Right.
categorize into yeah. So this is local exception, so we just categorize it into data validation exception.
So I have two things for you. First of all, there is a little bit of a standard rule here that we need to kind of enforce, which is your service can't deal with multiple models. It kind of restricts engineers from going, and adding multiple responsibilities. So I see two things. If you go back to the interface for this service, and by the way, the solution is very, very simple.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure you'll be okay with it, but if you go into iData service, you'll see that there is two models here. You're returning table metadata from one method, and
Mm-hmm.
you're returning result row from another. Two suggestions. Either go with dynamic or create a new service that only does the run query, even if it talks to the same broker. It's up to
Mm-hmm.
you. Let me just tell you why we do that. This is called a single contract kind of enforcement or rule. If you look at most of the chaotic non-standardized systems, when they allow multiple models to be returned or passed into a service, that service itself loses its sense of responsibility, right? It starts to do things that are beyond its limitations, especially for a foundation service. Like if you're in an orchestration service, but if you're in a foundation service, you have to stay at the one model level, right? So anyway, that's the least of our problems. What we can do
Mm-hmm.
here is that basically we can say query, a data query service, or we could have data information service. We could have two services,
Yeah,
and we
that makes
still
sense.
that that's easier. See, this
Mm-hmm.
is me kind of holding the stick from the middle. I think this implementation is great, but I also can you get inside this result row just real quick? I want to see something. So this result row here, ah, so you're basically returning and it basically has an IEnumerable of columns. And
Yeah.
now these columns are can be one or two or many or it doesn't matter. They can yeah, okay. Gotcha. I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. So that's just a small change. Now, if you go back to the test itself, the validation test, so should throw null or empty, great. And if you go down invalid multi-statement queries, if you go inside the multi-statement queries, so that's the
Mm-hmm.
theory, you're returning ah somehow we have to randomize this because someone could go and hard code all of these and kind of make your test a bypass your test. You know what I mean? Like all
Yeah.
of these are hard coded.
Yeah.
That's why we randomize. How do we That's why I asked you the question, because this is where it gets really, really interesting. Just for the people watching, and I'll take your screen for 1 second, but just give me one
Hmm.
second. So for the people watching, why do we use things like object filler and randomization and all that kind of stuff? Because and this happens more often than people can imagine. Your screen can still be there, but I'm just kind of sharing the.
Hmm.
So for the people watching, check this out. Let's say you wrote a test. You'll see this very common, right? This is my argument. By the way, there are many, many schools of thought around, oh, you need to pass in a specific input so you have specific output. I'll talk about that in a second. But then let's just say you have a method here that returns an int, right? And you're basically saying add, and here's int x and int y, right? And you're basically going and saying return x plus y. Cool. So for actually that's wrong. I'll just go here and say throw new not implemented exception. That's how you're gonna describe it, right? If you go and say something like should add numbers, right? And then you go here and you say my given says int x is 1, right? Int y is 2, and int expected result is 3, like that, right? So far so good. Now, and then you're writing the rest of your test. I can literally just do this and break your test because your test will say, yeah, I mean, it's running,
Yeah.
you know, right? Your test will be like, oh, that's it. That's expected input 1 and 2. But what we do though, we go and say, no, we're not going to do it this way. We're going to go and say, give me random x, and we go and say, get random number, like that. And then we say random result, and we go and do get random number again, random number like this, random result. I didn't say random y. Just watch this. Why did I say random y? Right? And then I'll go here and say y is whatever random result is minus random x. Why? Why do I have to do that? Because your test is not supposed to repeat your business logic. So if your test, so see that the tests are going the opposite direction of the logic. The logic starts with the inputs and then comes to the result. The test starts from the result and works its way back to the inputs. So now, sort of, I'm not repeating the business logic that's happening in here. I'm just saying there will be parameters and here's the result that I expect to come out. I talked to some guy a while back from MIT. You know MIT, the Massachusetts Institution of Technology. It's one of the most prestigious technology companies around the world. And what this guy said to me is even wilder than that, even wilder than you can imagine. What he said to me, you could still come with the same result. He admired this approach, but then he said you could come out with the same result even though random x and y will always be changing. So if your random result, watch this, if your random result in one iteration is 5 and your random x happens to be 1 like this, right? Then your y will be basically 4. The next iteration, it's still a 5, but this guy will be 2 and this guy will be 3. Like there is a scenario where your inputs are the same. Sorry, your output is the same, but your inputs are changing. Now, what happens then if I run return X like this? It's gonna fail. Return 3, it's gonna fail. You don't have an option. You have to do it right at this point. You'll see a lot of engineers, and I'm just taking these opportunities to talk about patterns that I'm seeing. I don't mean to, but okay, there are two schools of thoughts here, Milan. This is what I've seen. There is the BDD folks, and there is the OG TDD folks, the original folks, right? They said just write a test. I don't care what you're doing, right? These are the folks that will go and say int x is 1, int y is 2, and expected result is 3. Because at their time, for these guys, at their time, TDD, just writing a test, no matter what this test is a blessing. Because some engineers just don't write it at all. You know what I mean? And then came in the BDD folks, the behavior driven design and behavior driven tests. They basically started saying, we are testing behaviors, not values. So I'm looking for any combination of values that represent the behavior that's desired, regardless of what these values are. That's the evolution of test driven development. Some people are still sitting in the 1995. They're still kind of thinking about that approach. And I see this all the time. They have very strong arguments, by the way, just so you understand. It's not like a dying school of thought or anything. But I
There is also
saw,
combination, right?
yes,
BDD
there's a
people that
hybrid.
are, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's certainly always the hybrid approach, the in between where you basically are in the middle of a situation where there is still the people that will do, because by the way, you're not always going to be able to randomize. I can guarantee you that. Some of the randomization work that we do is basically an entire project on its own. If you go back to some of our older videos, you'll see that we're doing this theory that I like to play with called the basically the law of axioms, where we say things are equal to the same thing are equal to each other. So we don't start with the inputs. We start with this thing, and then we make two things are equivalent to it. That's when you do mapping and stuff like that. Anyway, long story short, we need to figure out, and this is the hardest part in your implementation, my friend. Like all of that, that's great. I really appreciate it. Finding that regular expression in and of itself is huge milestone. But now we have to do the hard part. How do we write tests that ensure that irregardless of what we're passing in, it'll be able to catch it? Here's an idea that I have, just an idea for you. We could randomize a part of this. So a portion of it. Do you see this whole select star from table X, whatever? It can be select A, comma, B, and C from table X, right?
Hmm.
So really, in reality, that doesn't matter until you start validating the integrity of the query itself. Is this actually a SQL query? And if you want to rely on the external dependency to kind of catch that, I won't blame you, but it's costly. Like, would you rather validate at the door and say this is not actually a SQL query? Or would you rather wait until it goes all the way to the database server and then it fails and then it comes back to you and says, nope, sorry, you can't do that. This is kind of a design question, right? Anyway, how do we randomize this? We can say, give me something that starts with the select and then randomize the rest of it.
Hmm.
Like, give me something that starts with select and then randomize the rest of it. I'm still with you. I'm just getting my
Hmm.
cup of tea. So that's one approach,
The
right?
thing is, it highly depends on the regex that we have, right?
Let's go to the regex.
Okay, so if we go to the service here, then we have validation here. So yeah,
Mm,
so what we have here, this is basically it's case insensitive. Then we can expect some white spaces, tabs or whatever, but it should
mhm.
start with select. Every
Right.
other query that goes and that doesn't start with select is invalid based on
Right.
this validation. And then this is like negative outlook. So from here on, I
Hmm.
don't want to see select anymore.
Okay.
And problem with that that I have is What if they have a column name or a table name that has select or something?
Right. That's another problem. Like the other problem that really concerns me is that what if the table has a keyword? And I think SQL today mandates that you put in, I think, a
Yeah.
brackets in
Mm,
between to escape, but not all SQL does that, by the way, just so you know. I was just writing SQL, literally, I was just literally just today, I was writing SQL query. I was showing someone something and it allowed me to do it. It allowed me to use values that are keywords. It's just smart enough to do it.
mm.
Let's take this problem piece by piece. Let's just take it piece by piece. Is it true that our is it true that our random values generator can take in a regular expression and generate randomized expressions that follow SQL syntax rules?
Wow, that's interesting. Okay, let's see. I have no
Let's try
idea.
it. Let's
Yeah.
try it. See,
Okay.
that's the beauty with this. We're just a bunch of nerds just enjoying some time. Let's just make sure we don't embed spyware in our systems. That would be great. That would be perfect. But let's just see what happens there.
Okay, let's see. So we go back to the body.
Mhm.
Okay. So you're saying that we have
Yeah,
something. What we are using here is
actually go to Google. Let's just go to Google
uh-huh.
and just look object filler, regular expression.
Regex.
Mhm. So object filler is what we're using. Now the thing is, oh, I didn't know that they're looking for support. We'll give them some support. So let's look at can they actually support regular expression?
Any search here? Yeah.
Yeah, regex or something. How about regular expression?
Yeah.
Ah, okay, let's go the other route then here. By the way, there's no guarantee whatsoever that the documentation is up to date because you know, because
Mhm.
it's just like I can't tell you how many times I found out possibilities in certain libraries that I've been using that has no documentation. I mean, the engineers will develop the feature and you should be thankful for that. But also writing documentation, now you're pushing it. Now they'll be like, hey, too far now. So let me try this. I'll take your screen for a second, Milan.
Okay.
Let's try something on my side. Let's see here. If not, I'm pretty sure there's one library out there that will let us do this. But let's try this out. So I want to be able to, here's the code. I want to be able to, let's just put this at the very bottom, right? So this is private string static string random SQL query generate random SQL query. Can you send that
Mm-hmm.
regex that you have, send that over to me so I can try this out. Appreciate it. For now, I'll just say return default because I don't like the noise. And if I say mnemonic string, can I pass in a regex to it? I don't think it's the mnemonic string. Let's say dynamics, object filler. So here, so they have all these kind of different things, right? They have, thank you, Milan. So they have city name, collectionizer, country name, date time. All of these are random things that you can generate. Float range, fluent circular API, fluent property API, int range, IP address, lipsum. What is this? Is that lorem ipsum? Generates
Mm.
nonsensical text using preset words from one of several. Oh my God. Long range, mnemonic. Pattern generator. Okay. Creates values based on the pattern. Character, patterns, char class. Okay. Can I pass regex though? That would be really fantastic. Counter patterns generates numbers starting with, I think they built on their own pattern. I don't know what this pattern is. Have you ever seen this before, like the squiggly brackets and then char class or whatever? I have never seen this before.
No.
No. Randomizer, this is a class easy way to get random values. Sequence generator Boolean. Oh, really? You don't have anything? That really sucks. What about this randomizer? Randomizer string. What do you do, Mr. Randomizer? No, that's not also what I'm looking for. Okay,
Someone built a regex plugin that
that's probably
basically,
that's for Dynamics or its own
yeah,
thing.
yeah, exactly for Dynamics.
Nice. What's
It's a
it called?
separate project. I just sent you in the chat.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so I I love it. I love it. Let's see here. So this is a project object for a regex plugin. Oh, I love that. Reverse regex. Nice. Nice, nice. Okay, sounds great. Let's get it. So
Mm.
it's so bad that people. Okay, let me give
Wait.
that guy
Uh-huh.
give that guy a star for me. Just give people putting in time and effort. Let's go back here. Let's go into this. What were you saying? What? Object filler. Pretty sure if I just say object filler, it should give me the goodies. So object filler. Um, you said the name here
Mm,
is objectfiller.net. Did he not publish it or anything? Let's go back here and see what happened.
I just see. So.
He should have a NuGet package somewhere. Yeah, he has a NuGet package. His package is called Dynamics Object Filler Regex. It's bad that let's do that. Come on. It's not included. I wonder if his library is not .NET Core, and that's why, because that would be a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So if I go to frameworks, yeah, it says Net Standard 1.1. It's dead, basically. Okay, okay. Let's try this then. I could pull in, let's see here, object filler. The last time he touched this was 5 years ago.
Oh.
Is that guy, yeah, is that guy still active at all? Let's see. Wow, it's a desert in here. Okay. Hmm. Okay, what if we, it's a clean library. He just has tests and everything. Reverse regex. He basically went and said, reverse regular expression. If it's null, freak out. And then xeger. What's this xeger coming out? It's coming from a library called fair. Okay, let's dig deeper, right? So so fair. Let's find fair. I see fair here. Is this the right one? I mean, it looks like it. Fair, finite, automata, and regular expressions. So what did this dude do exactly? He basically went and said regex generator new, and then he picked up the generator and he basically just said generate. That's it. So we
Mm.
just need fair. Fine. Let's go get fair. Fair seems to be a bit more popular. Man, I love open source. You get to just look exactly what's happening, and not get blocked by that nonsense. Okay, let's find fair. Fair. and it is available. And Handlebars also supports the library. Exeger. Wow, that's weird. This library has 96 million downloads. That's not to be taken easily. Now let's just see if it's real. Like let's see if it actually does what we're trying to do. And I'm sorry for the people watching. I've been meaning to increase the font here. It's probably super hard to read any of this. Here we go. Yeah, my computer really hates. Be like, why are you reading at this level? Come on, you can do it. Give it a second there. See, 10 gigabytes per second speed is not enough for Nougat to give me my library. Look, I'm just hanging in the air. I think something is wrong with it. Almost there, almost there. Patience, patience and prayers. Okay. Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Did it install? Yeah, it installed the library. It's
Mm,
funny. It didn't
seems
pop
like.
up anything. Okay, cool. Let's go back here. And then in here, I'm just gonna say, using fair and square. And I'm gonna go here and say return new fair dot uh, regex something oh exeger. There you go. And then you did send me the thing, right? So let me pick
Mm-hmm.
up that. So that's does that include the at as well, like the at sign in it?
No, no.
Oh, the at is for you to escape the, got it. You're escaping, got it. Okay, let's see if this is actually real. I don't know if it is. Let's find out. This guy here though is saying, cannot implicitly
The
convert type.
mhm.
Uh, go ahead, go ahead.
Maybe the end as well is not.
Nope, it's just a data type. That's whack. Oh, okay, so if I go back here and return, you know what? I'm actually gonna do an assert true in here just for testing. I'm just gonna say true because I don't care. And then I'm gonna go here and say string randomly generated regular a SQL command. Okay, so now generate. There you go, right? And I'm gonna run this forever. Have you ever seen this trick? If you do this, you run forever. Ever seen this trick before? Not a lot of people know that.
I
This,
prefer well true.
yeah, I know. A lot of people will do this.
Yeah.
This year's old school. Run forever. Like keep running with no conditions. Same thing. While true is better though. I agree. Um, and then I'm just gonna put a breakpoint in here. So every time it generates, every time it runs, and let me put fact in here, right? And I think what did Greg do? Yeah, we could flip these into privates. We just can't make the class private. That's what he really changed in across all the. So all our tests now has to have a private instead of public because they don't need to be public. The class needs to be public, but not
Mm-hmm.
the method in itself. And then that helps with your internal models and access level and all that. Ooh, didn't like that. So it basically said expected. I think it doesn't like your.
At the end, maybe at the end of the string, I think yeah,
Is it this
that
guy?
escape. Yeah.
Take that guy out. Okay.
Hmm.
Good catch. Good catch. Okay, let's go back here again. See, you learn something new every day. Like I'm coming into this session, I'm saying, yeah, we're gonna just discuss the things that we already know. Lo and behold, you're learning new things. What? Did you get stuck? Where? What happened? Where are we? Test. It says passed. I don't know why passed. See, the compiler is smart. It's saying you will never come here. Do you see how it kind of dimmed down the light for this? Okay, let's see. Where do I find? Yeah, there it is. Debug. Let's go. I swear I did Control RT, but Visual Studio somehow just is done with me for these. So if I do F10, Oh, does it really just die the first time it runs? There must be an error here somewhere or something. Is
Mm.
generate asynchronous. Okay, fine. Let's do this. Let's put the breakpoint here. Let's run again.
Or maybe try catch and then catch the exception.
Oh, this guy should be a void. Your test should never return anything, right? And it shouldn't be static. Yeah, that's all my bad. Okay. And then let's do
Mm.
control U, control, uh, is it KU? Yeah, I'm not wrong.
Mhm.
Sometimes these are just muscle memory, like you totally forgot. Your hands knows what to
Yeah.
do, but your brain, like if someone asks you, what's the shortcut for this? You said, I don't know. My hand has its own brain, and I'm just writing my own thing. All right, let's see here. It should at this point kind of do the right thing, I think. Are you running? What happened?
Mm.
Is it still breaking? No, no, here it is. F10, F10. It just dies, and it doesn't say why it died. Unreachable code detected. Just my code is enabled. What do you think? Why is this thing not working? It's very interesting. Is
Would
this
it help
because
if we just try catch and catch the exception if there is some exception, or but it should print an exception anyway.
it should, yeah, it should just freak
Yeah.
out and say, hey, you have an exception, but hey, you never know. Catch exception X, here you go, and then I don't know, exception dot message, and let's try it this way. I mean, I'm running it in debug mode, so it should know, right, what to
Mm.
do, but we'll see. Nope, it just reports success. What does that like? Do you know what's happening here? It's exiting and still. Let's see. That's weird. I don't know what this library is doing. I need to take a look at what it's doing. That is weird. See, normal Friday night. We're supposed to be having fun. Oh, here you go. For some reason now it's working. Okay, so here's what it generated. Oh my lord.
I don't see anything, but
Let me show you what it printed.
uh-huh.
You're gonna freak out. You're gonna freak out. It's legit, and we will find out in a second whether it's legit or not, but this is what it printed.
Wow.
Watch. So select
Yeah.
2f at f, all of that is just a select statement. And then it's saying, where is from in here?
Yeah. From
There's no from, because is your regular expression not checking from that front? No, you are.
yeah, yeah. Can you maybe search from there in that
Let's
document?
find that from. Yeah, it is somewhere. And that's pretty much it. So that's the query. So select all of this and then from, and then it goes wild after that. Okay, there is no, I'm still not saying this is an illegal, I don't know what is this equal that came before, but let's just go to something smart and say validate the SQL command for us, because we don't have a database that matches all these columns and whatnot. So let's say validate SQL command. Yeah, SQL syntax check and validator. Cool. It wouldn't even talk to me, look. Like it wouldn't let me even click the button. Uh, SQL Server database version, I don't know, 2019. Yeah, there you go. You have an error in your SQL syntax. It seems the error is around blah.
It needs to have space after select and space before from, right? If you do that, I guess it will work.
If I do what? Space after
Uh, s-
select?
yeah, and before from,
Do you see from here? Yeah, there.
before and after.
Run after, right? Okay.
Mm.
like this? I don't think so. You'll see. Look. So that just tells us two things. Either okay, SQL Radix.
I mean, for this SQL validation, I think we can just write a library because it's not like it's
Mm,
complex problem and
I know. That's why we're using these NuGet packages. Let's see. Radix to validate SQL. Yeah. This guy is saying you have this.
yeah, I've
You
seen
may,
that. I modified that one.
you modify. That's the one you
Yeah.
modified. Okay. Okay. What about? Go away. Okay. SQL contains string. Let's ask Bard. Give me the best regex to validate SQL, Microsoft MS SQL queries for only selects.
I talked to all AIs. They're all lying.
They're all lying to you, right?
Yeah, they're all lying.
These
They,
these 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 things. Okay, let me try this one. Let's see what this one will produce. Hilarious. This is all hilarious. Let's go back here. Yeah, AI will hallucinate, man. It can't do math these days.
mm,
It's a problem. Okay, let's try it this way. Go back in time. Click, 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 click. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Um, this is also wrong because what it generated is this. Watch this. This is incorrect, right? AI
yeah.
is lying.
Mm.
So I'm assuming here it basically went and said in the query, let's just see here. It basically select and then space, as many spaces as you want, and then
Yeah.
something in here.
At least one character.
This is at least one character,
Yeah.
and then as many spaces,
And
and
then
then
from
from, and then as many spaces. See,
yeah, and
that's
then
that's what that's what's concerning me. Are we supposed to like do this? So it's just one, at least one, or something like that?
yeah. I think
B-
we just need to remove that question mark, and
To
then it's
remove the.
gonna be at least one. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, let's try.
I think so.
Fantastic. Nope, no good. Still from is empty. Uh,
Mm.
let's go back here. Where is Bard? We need Bard. Here's Bard. Um, so it's basically saying this is your query. What about ChatGPT? Here we go. What was my question? It was basically, give me the best regex to validate, only select commands. There you go. It's giving me something very similar. Look at this clown. The same thing. The exact same thing.
Yeah, been there, done that. So
You probably went down that road, didn't you?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So look, this is at least we're you know uh, like moving in one direction, right? This is definitely one direction that we can do, right? Um, what is this? Dinesh Nazir, hey Hassan, salam, salam. Welcome, welcome me after a long time in your stream. Please pardon my English. No worries, Dinesh. Nice to have you. Okay. Sorry, I just saw his post. So what if I try this, my friend? Maybe this will work. see here. I love that I can just change the code in real time. See. Nope, still says select 7, and they put numbers, by the way. I don't know if you can put, I don't really know if you can put columns as numbers. That's weird, but maybe you could. I never thought about it, honestly.
Me neither, so I
Like,
don't know.
can you actually create a SQL table with just numbers? What, like the columns are just numbers. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm.
What kind of sorcery is this? Is that really true?
I mean, it's just matching our regex, so
It's just trying to match the regex, right? But
yeah.
if these are the rules, I mean, there gotta be rules somewhere about this, right? So hold on, I really wanna. I guess that's the day I learn things. You know, that's how it works. So I'm just gonna go here, right? And I'm gonna create a new database. And
No,
I'm gonna
Google
call.
says that column names must contain only A to Z or 0 to 9 and underscore.
Is that true?
Multiple must be.
So if I say column name, ID, unique identifier, don't allow null, and then this new column name is var. Yeah, it will let you do it, dude.
Yeah.
Look, it would totally let you do it and be like new table. Watch this. Watch this crazy. So, so I did not know that. I did not know that. I have no idea. So look at this. Select 7 from new table. Search. Works like a charm. It just says no column name down here, by the way. So
Uh-huh.
if I go and say select all, it does say 7 in here. But apparently this is a valid query. Have you ever seen this before? I've never.
No, it would never come to my mind, definitely.
See, that's how you're gonna show off in your next like all hands tech meeting, and you're just gonna tell people, hey, question for the group. Do you consider this as a valid SQL query? And watch people just go wild. Michael Borke says a valid query that done by an invalid database administrator. Select 7 from table. Let's try this way. Yep, that works. It's true. This randomizer is not a real DBA. I mean, Dinesh says, Hassan, quick question. Yeah, I guess my channel is just blessed with things you won't find on the internet for weird. I promise, man, I'm not looking after these things. You just find me. Dinesh says, Hassan, a quick question from my side. Could you please start something similar to this for microservices? And what do you think about microservices? I think microservices are great. It's outside of the context of this stream, but you never start with microservices. You always start monolithic, and you break it down later into microservices based on what your business needs. But Dinesh, this is a different discussion. Utker says wrong name only in between brackets in SQL Server. But guys, what I'm trying to say is it didn't error out. Like if you put in like this, it's supposed to error out. It's not erroring out. How come?
By design.
By design. So that means that this randomizer, this SQL generator is right? Because this is a valid SQL query. It didn't blow up.
Hmm.
Utker says, yeah, it is valid because you're selecting a value. It's true. So if I do just select 7, I think it'll just print 7. Is that what you're saying? I think that's what he's saying. Yeah, that's what he's saying.
But no, we're not selecting value, right?
It's SQL way of saying give me something. Like if I go here and say Toncic like this,
Hmm.
will it let me? Yeah, it'll just print it.
Yeah,
That's what
that. But
Otkar is
in
trying to say.
previous example where you selected from some table, I think there it selects column, not the value, right?
That's the crazy part. The crazy part is that it's letting me say from new table.
Yeah, and then when you execute that, you see that as a column name, not as a value.
Let's try this. Insert, insert
Into
into,
7.
that would be wild. New table,
Uh,
right? Values, right? Values. And I don't know, a unique identifier of some kind. So I don't know, something like that. I guess it has to be GUID, isn't it? So GUID generator. See how programming can just take you into weird directions, my man. Like you don't even know where to start. So here's that. And then the value, right? So what did we say the value is going to be? The type of that value. We said it's going to be a var binary. Oh my God. Why did I choose? What is var binary? Hold on. var var binary. Why did I choose var binary? Binary example. SQL var binary data type. Oh, I could just put zero in there. Okay, cool. Zero is an amazing value, dude. This is perfect. So if I insert, it says one row affected. Great. Now if I say select 7 from new table,
then 0. Huh?
look at this. Look at this craziness. No ID. Yeah, Michael. Thanks, Michael. That's true. No ID. So
So yeah,
again, I'm just going back to the idea that this is a valid SQL query. It's wrong. We're all agreeing that it's completely wrong, but it is a valid SQL query because the server is saying totally fine, dude, no problem.
yeah. So it's selecting a value, not a column. So down there it says
But
the
shouldn't it,
column name.
you know what's bothering all of us is that shouldn't it error out on this? Because if you're selecting a particular value,
What if you type some table that doesn't exist? It's gonna select something, right?
oh, it'll definitely freak out.
Okay, try.
Here, error.
Oh.
Now, while we're on the topic,
Of course.
and you can't even escape it because it's like a, is that like an operand or operator or something? I don't know, something. What if I do this? No. Look what it's producing. Otkar says, can I help you write to Regix SQL Server? Write to Regix SQL Server. What
Maybe
does
he
that
wants to
mean?
help with the regex, right?
Oh yeah, if you wanna, Otkar, if you want to, just hop in, man. You know, just hop in and join the stream. Although that we're about to wrap up, but it's a Friday night, so let's have a party. But you know, I'm telling you, okay, coming back to this, this is a valid SQL query. Now, here's the deal. Why all of them are producing this? Is this a valid SQL query? That's what they were producing, right? No, it's not. Then that regular expression is broken. Michael Michael says, "Why do I get the feeling this is a bug that became a feature in Microsoft?" I don't know, Michael. It's the, I guess there gotta be a reason for it. I mean,
Maybe in
SQL,
some part of the world, some people speak in numbers or something, so it might make sense. I mean, just keep hypothetically, but
Is that really what it is? Is that the deal? Is that what we're
Business
working with
case.
here? Okay. So, okay. So anyway, we really need a regular expression. I don't care if you want to write a regular expression, a real regular expression that can generate. I do love what I learned today, by the way, just the idea that you can pass in a regular expression. See, 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 that's what I'm talking about, Milan. You have certain engineering principles. The tool that gets that principle materialized doesn't matter, but you have the right ideas. Like a lot of people get caught up in on the tools. Tools don't matter at all. It's the patterns, but more important than the patterns, the principles, right? We want to test drive things. Great. What's the pattern here? We need to generate. It needs to be behavior driven. We need to generate random values. What's the value that we're trying to generate? A regular expression. Great. Find me a tool that does this, no matter what this tool is. 9 times out of 10, someone already implemented it.
Yeah, nice idea. But I think it's overly complex that we design it, we build it. There are so many edge cases that we can't find.
No.
Hmm?
If your domain system or your utility mandates you to create a new tool, then publish it externally. Don't stick to that because that'd be very
Mhm.
dangerous. You don't want to be the guy that created an entirely new product just to support another product. That's a rabbit hole. That's a huge rabbit hole that you don't want to. A lot of engineers get caught into that, right? They basically go and say, "Oh, we are building a hospital system, but we want something to do fuzzy search. So let's go build an entirely new project, entirely new system that does fuzzy search on SQL." And then they can't get themselves out of that rabbit hole. But some other engineers will be like, okay, looks like a great open source project. I'll just spend extra time over the weekend and build whatever I like. And that's how tools should be born. They should come from an
Mhm.
actual need. Necessity is the mother of all creation, right? Innovation. So,
Another thing here, like aren't we supposed to think about the context where we are? I mean, if we just take that SQL query regex and then we just think without the context, it's much broader. But in the context where we are, where we
mhm,
have an AI, where we can send a prompt and optimize things, maybe we can make things for us easier. But if you look at this flow that where I'm working on this flow down there, just that flow, then it makes it overly complex. But if we look at the whole business case
mhm,
that we are solving and the AI, maybe we can make things easier for us much more.
absolutely. Otker says, no, no, I'll send you in LinkedIn. I need 1 day. Select seven from table. Select as seven from table. Select any value from table, no more. But if you use join where group order, this is hard. I think good validate run query with listen, my man, I think I know what you're saying. I think. So send me your query. All I want is a regular expression that actually is true and it can actually generate valid SQL queries. And Milan, we're doing this because we want to escape the structural validation. And we want to escape one layer in the logical validation. Because if you're validating with this rigid, remember what you did? You did structural, null, empty, or white space, not allowed.
Hmm.
Cut the circuit, cut the crap, move on, right? The first layer of this logical validation is that you're validating that it's a valid SQL query at all. And if it is, then we dig into the deeper validation layer, which is
Hmm.
whether this is malicious SQL validation.
But since we know in our case we only permit select, right? So do we need to validate the whole query and all the variants that we can get there? Like, is it so it needs to start with select. So every other query is invalid
Right,
for
and
us.
that's the first regular expression that says, is this a valid select query?
Hmm.
Regardless, is this a valid select query? Good. The next step to that is to basically go and say, wait a second, is this a valid select query with no malicious intent? It doesn't have malicious code in it that will do an insert or inject code in it or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, so back to Michael's question here. I assume this is only for Microsoft. So, Michael, this project starts with integrating with Microsoft SQL Server, but we want to upgrade it to Postgres and MySQL and NoSQL and all that. It's a really fun project, I promise you. If you see like the first video, we talk generically, but you got to start somewhere, right? So we're starting with ChatGPT and SQL. ChatGPT is going to go away. We're going to have our own local model, and SQL is going to go away, and we're going to have more abstract library for that. We discussed this a little bit more in detail earlier, but this is just to catch you up on um, the plan. So Milan, I'll let you know if Utker send me a good regular expression.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but
But
just take care there, because I mean there are many. So first is it needs to be select. The other thing is, do we permit more than one select? So what if
nope.
there are multiple select statements? No, that's the
Yep.
other thing. How do you separate different statements? In
Yep.
MS SQL, you can do that in a couple of ways. It's not just uh, it can be space, it can be new line, it can be wherever. So
So we know that if it starts with select, that's a good start.
mm,
But it also has to have from. The problem here is that if your column name is select and from, so it would be select from. That would be a legit one. Select from, and then new table. Legitimate. Because the first select is the select, the second select is a column name, the first from is a column name, and then the second from is the actual from, the keyword. Yikes. What did we walk ourselves into?
yeah, and
A
not just that.
class in
It's
SQL.
also if it's a root of the word, like it's selection, not select. It's again invalid if you say I don't expect select in the to follow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then if it's selection, it's gonna match there as well. So it there, and you also need exception. You need to
It's
say only select and select, and the whole word should be select. It's not just part of the word or.
yeah. You
And
could
if you,
say
huh?
mhm. You could say that you will allow no, there is no way around it because it can be a complex. By the way, having multiple selects is also not bad. You know why? Because you could do a join between databases. You can literally go and say, this is a valid, and if AI produces this, and it can, and it will, it's totally fine. What if you go and say this select a student ID,
Hmm.
right, from students table, right, where student ID in select student ID or select ID from registered students. That's completely valid. That's totally,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Also union and then select down there or join. Yeah. So
This is why I was saying your best option is to prevent, you are allowed to prevent malicious SQL code, but you're not allowed to prevent it from just reading. It should just be able to just read data. It's not an easy task. I'm sorry, brother. I know you probably thought, I'm done. I wrote the tests. What does this guy want from me? It's just a stupid library that's just kind of translating.
no, I
I
didn't think that way. I mean, I
I
knew
know,
that
I
I'm
know,
not done. I just wanted to see your perspective on this. So
I know. I mean, I learned something. I learned something. I learned a bunch of things. I know how I'm gonna show off on a bunch of nerds. Like I'm gonna out nerd people. The next time someone is saying, I'm the master of SQL, I'll be like, okay, let me show you something. Have you heard about the number seven? Anyway, uh, just a couple of homeworks, and I will do some research myself, Milan. But still, we need to get this resolved somehow. The problem is you can't just find. Oh yeah, Felipe does SQL. That's right. He does R. He does data. He said you can also have select lower column. Yeah, that's true. We need. By the way, Felipe, we need. If you're catching up. Oh wait, what is this too? Greg says select into statement copies data from one tip. Great. Great. Here you go. Gregory just throw a wrench at it. Be like, hey, here's a right statement. It doesn't have anything
Yeah.
into it, but that's actually true. But Greg, is this actually a permanent right or a temporary virtual table? Because I think that's I don't know. Actually don't. I don't remember. You don't use select into every day unless you're a DBA or something like that. I think DBAs are almost endangered species. I haven't met a DBA in a very long time. All right, let's wrap it. It's just a bunch of suggestions to help you with your task. It's an easy task. Come on, come on, Milan. What are your complicated? Okay, brother. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks for the people participating in this stream. This was actually really, really, really informative and teachable, at
And
least to
fun.
me.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you later. Thank you. Take care. Okay. Late.
Thank you guys.